joined up when I was 14 and a half. I told them I was 19, and nobody asked questions. We were keen in those days. Everyone was joining up, and I didn't want to be left behind. On the first day of the Somme, 1st of July 1916, we were told we'd go over after the bombardment. We thought nothing could survive that shelling. It went on for days. The noise was like the world ending. The ground shook the whole time. When it stopped, everything went silent. That was worse than the noise. The whistle blew and we climbed out. I could hardly lift my rifle. It felt too heavy. The ground was churned up like a ploughed field full of shell holes and barbed wire that hadn't been cut at all. Men were dropping everywhere. The machine guns started before we were halfway across. I saw lads I knew from back home fall, one after another, just crumpling up. I fell into a shell hole and stayed there most of the day. There were dead men all around me. I was too small to climb out again without being seen. I remember thinking I'd never get home, that this was where I'd die. When it got dark, I crawled back to our trench. There were so few of us left. My company had gone in a few hundred strong, and by the next morning, I think there were only about 30 of us still fit to stand. I was 15 years old, and I'd seen more death in one day than anyone should in a lifetime. After that, I didn't feel like a boy anymore. None of us did.
I joined up when I was 12. My mother didn't know. I told the recruiting sergeant I was 19 and he laughed, but signed me on anyway. They didn't look too hard in those days. They needed men. I trained for a few months and was sent to France early in 1916. I remember the mud first, thick and endless, sucking the boots off your feet. We were told the big push was coming, that this would be the battle to end the war. Everyone said the Germans would be wiped out by our artillery. When the barrage lifted on the morning of July the 1st, it was like someone had turned off a thunderstorm. We went over the top in broad daylight, shoulder to shoulder. I'd never been so frightened in all my life. The German machine guns opened up almost at once. You could see men going down in rows. I kept running because I didn't know what else to do. The noise was deafening. Rifles, shells, men shouting for stretcher-bearers. I saw lads tangled in the wire screaming. There was no time to help them. I dropped into a shell hole and fired until my rifle jammed with mud. I don't remember how long I was there. Hours, maybe. When night came, I crawled back. There were bodies everywhere. I'd gone in with friends from training. Most of them were gone. I don't think I really understood what war meant until that day. I was just a boy. But by the time it was over, I felt 100 years old.
I joined up when I was 15. My mates had gone, and I didn't want to be left behind. I said I was 19, and they didn't ask for proof. I went to France early in 1916. The trenches were worse than I could ever have imagined. Mud up to your knees, lice in your shirt, and the smell of death everywhere. You could tell the old hands from the new ones. We still smiled, still joked, but we were scared all the time. When the Somme came, they told us it would be easy. The Germans would be smashed by the bombardment. You believed it because you had to. We went over the top at daylight. The noise stopped. That's what I remember most. Silence after days of thunder. And then the machine guns started. It was like nothing I'd ever heard. Men were going down in rows. I saw our officer fall, and a lad from Hull who joined up with me went down right beside him. I dropped into a hole in the ground and stayed there all day. I couldn't move for fear they'd see me. The ground shook with shells. I thought, I'm only a kid. What am I doing here? When it got dark, I crawled back to our trench. The roll call next morning was awful. Nearly everyone gone. I was 15 years old. but I felt like an old man.
I was 15 when I joined up. They didn't ask too many questions. If you were big enough to carry a rifle, they took you. We went to France in early 16. The older lads called us boy soldiers. They looked out for us most of the time. But once you were in the line, nobody cared how old you were. Before the Somme, we were told the barrage would blow the Germans to bits. It went on for days. The ground shook all the time. We thought nothing could live through it. Then the guns stopped. Everything went quiet. I'll never forget that silence. The whistle blew, and we climbed out. We walked, not ran. That's what we'd been told to do. The field was flat and open, and the machine guns started before we were halfway across. I saw men I'd been talking to 5 minutes before just disappear. I dropped into a shell hole. There were 3 of us in there. One was dead before we got out. When it was over, we went back to the trench, and there were hardly any faces I knew. Out of my platoon of 40, maybe 10 were left standing. I was still 15. That day made me old.